All right, roll me on this one. A couple of days ago, I made a video speaking on how God doesn't respond to fear. He responds to action. And again, you can go to the universe, Buddha, Yoda, your fairy godparents, whatever you believe in. But the purpose of the video was to show that when you commit to something and you believe in it, as you make your moves towards it and start showing motion, the path will just find itself for you. You feel me? So you can't be too caught up on trying to have this perfect plan because at the end of the day, you don't control that. There's so much working behind the scenes helping plant your perfect path. All you got to do is take the next step and it'll show. It's like a video game. So I mentioned that I was going to give y'all some examples of my personal life on how this is manifested for me. So we go back to probably like 2012, 13. I remember, some things was getting shook up in my life, and I was just having this calling that I was meant to do bigger and better things. I needed to start applying myself, but I didn't know how. You feel me? So I remember I read a book. It said you make a statement with the amount of money you want to make, the path that you want to get there to doing it, your talents, the things that you thought or you truly wanted to be good at. Write it down, put it on your pillow, say it, 2, 3 times a day, and really believe. So mine specifically had, it mentioned aspects of entertainment, music, movies, modeling, all of that stuff, just the entertainment industry. And then I also mentioned I wanted to get into coaching because my pops is coached. I've always been good, basketball, football, always had a, good understanding of the game. And I grew up watching the coach. So that's just kind of what we do in basketball. And then I wanted to jump into, have my own business, mainly like retail and creating a store that has sneakers with everything that a Walmart would have. So fast forward, a couple months after that, I remember my best friend was getting ready to move, and he was doing a lot of acting work. I was helping him shoot his auditions and stuff. Thanks to him, he threw me in a movie, cast me a role, and ended up shooting one of his first feature films, or short feature films. Had a good role in it, met people in the acting community. It was cool, it was love. A couple months before that, through one of the jobs I was working, I think it was Nike at the time, one of my good dudes and mentors, Andre Speech, listened to me talk hoops at work day after day after day and ended up inviting me to the gym. He happened to be a coach at a high school out here, and he had his own AAU program, so he brought me into that. And within 2, 3 months of being there, I was coaching, I was assistant coach, I got named the head AAU coach, and I had, began training and started getting my own clients. And mind you, I'm like 23, 24 at the time, so stuff is going lovely. I realized I didn't have as much time as I wanted to, and I didn't have all the funds that I needed to because, again, working at Nike, I was coaching, I was doing all these different things, and it wasn't really coming together. So I remember I started selling my sneakers, a sneaker collection that I had built from my freshman, sophomore year in high school. I started getting rid of heat, but it was paying me enough to pay my bills, to allow me to feed myself, pay the person I was staying with, make sure I had a roof over my head, and I was able to maneuver and do everything I needed to. While working that same Nike job, I ran into a young cat named Taj Amir. We got very close. We'd be freestyling at work, just playing word association games. We got real close. And he ends up inviting me to his crib, which second as a studio a couple times with him and some of his good people and some dudes that I became, very close with during that time, still bred. They were working on a project. So I sat in enough studio sessions, and it got to the point where they called me in, was like, yo, Bax, you want to get on the track? So I remember getting on this track. I think the tape was called Freshly Baked, and I got featured on one of the tracks called Cast Out, which was a play on Outkast, which makes a lot of sense for several reasons. So I remember doing that. Eventually that led to me putting out my first solo project, which again, from the time I was a kid, I wanted to do, but never made it known and never had really pursued it. But as soon as I started to, the things just started coming. Around that same time, one of the guys that worked on the film that I shot with my boy Army, he was into music. He had been in a couple hip hop groups. He had been in some alternative music groups. He had an idea for a band, a 2-man band. It was called Barefoot Gorilla Funk. That would be, comprised of me and my dude Dev. So I took the guitar that I bought in like 2012 and I started learning how to do stuff. And to me, it wasn't that good or wasn't where I wanted it to be, but he saw the musical vision in it. We kind of worked off each other, and we ended up putting out a couple singles, shot a music video. We, just shared all these ideas. We would talk podcast stuff, but all of these different things. And all of this was within a matter of like 2 years after I wrote that statement down. Now, throughout that journey, there were several times where I didn't fully believe in what was going on, or I believed it, but I wasn't showing the action. And that's where you get hiccups along the way. And I started to notice that every time you doubt yourself with something that you truly want to do, God will put you close to it and pull it away. And a lot of times when you start doubting yourself, it's because you letting people into your ears, you letting how things are being received from other people impact your belief. And as you guys know, you cannot do that. So my point to you is, if you believe something, if you truly got a calling in your heart, no matter how foolish it may sound to others, you have to believe in it first. And you have to actively work towards it every day, every moment that you're conscious. You're going to have slip-ups, you're going to have setbacks, because ultimately you aren't the one putting the plan together. You have the thought, and you have to rely on your belief system to show you those paths and how you're going to achieve those things, you feel me? So keep going what you're doing. If you aren't doing anything and you want to get out of a rut in life, or you want to be living a different life, write it down. There's power in writing things down. Everything we learn is from books that have been passed down that are, have turned into movies, television, at this point podcasts, but so many of these things started way back in the beginning of civilizations with just symbols and signs. So get in the habit of writing stuff down and then wholeheartedly believing in stuff. Because at the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen when you're not here. You don't truly know why you're here until you've gotten that message. So don't be so hard on yourself. Keep moving, keep believing, and everything will come to fruition. Maybe not the way you planned it, but the way that God has planned it. You feel me? All right, I'm out. Backs.